No, no way. No way. What are you doing here, bro? What are you doing here?
I'm here checking out this new kayak, man. No, I heard you were here. That's why I'm here, obviously.
Oh, so you're here because I'm here.
I heard that Aliex is here, so I had to make the trek.
Bro, but you know what they want? They want us to flip a kayak.
Okay.
Or 2 or 3. I don't know. We gotta do something.
I mean, you're gonna have to pack a lunch to flip this one.
That's easy. I'll flip it easy. Remember that? Remember
Yeah.
that?
Oh, yeah.
Unflippable, and then I flipped it in 2 seconds.
Oh yeah.
Okay, but this kayak was at ICAST. We did a walkthrough, but this is the final one. So I think they need to know, like the final version.
Okay.
And since you know everything about this boat, you're the best guy to do it. Not me. I'm gonna go behind the camera because I'm taking a break, bro. Let's
All
go.
right, let's get it.
All right, bro. This is crazy here. We got the one and only Chad Hoover from YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and TV and billions.
Billions, yeah.
Dude, you
Cameo.
Wow.
Cameo. Yeah, I can retire now.
Yeah, yeah.
So how do you want to do this? Do you want to just do an overview? Do you want to do a stern to
Complete.
about a stern walkthrough, the whole 9?
Exactly. Complete walkthrough with stories and everything. Make it 2 hours.
All right, so is this one of those videos where I can be honest, or am I supposed to be doing a polished review like a commercial?
Bro, 100% honesty and a little bit of controversy always helps.
Well, it won't be controversial, it'll just be honesty. So guys, look, I'm Chad Hoover, like you said, of Kayak Bass Fishing. I'm going to walk you through the new Bonafide P127. We're just going to do what I like to do. We're going to go bow to stern. So starting at the front, you got the standard fat grip handle that Bonafide is famous for. It's got the little rubber insert. Everything about this is the same as the popular SS127. It's just retrofitted to this boat. Now, something that's new for this boat, and this is something that I tried to get manufacturers to work with and to accomplish for years. I finally got Bonafide to agree to doing it, is to put a power pole mount up front. Now, in the prototype testing of this boat, we started mounting some bow mounted trolling motors up there just to see if we could promote this as a bow mount ready. And it is a bow mount ready. You just have to go watch my video about the warning on bow mounting a trolling motor on this boat, because to be honest with you, if you're a bigger dude, you've got the weight of the paddle drive and you put a battery up front and the motor, it's just too much weight up front. Plus, when you've got this much plastic and you're roto molding a kayak, you really have to realize that not everywhere is going to be super thick. And even with a mount like the Bonafide bow mounting plate or the one objective bow mounting plate, I think the nose is just a little bit too soft unless you use one of those additional mounting plates. So I wouldn't recommend mounting a bow mounting trolling motor on here by just taking this plate off. I would definitely recommend one of those reinforced mounts, but I would also caution you, if you're a bigger angler, if you're going to use the pedal drive, don't put a bow mount on this boat unless you're going to put your battery in the back, and you're going to be very mindful of balancing the load on this boat. So anyway, coming on back, it's got the standard double take latches that Bonafide is famous for. This boat actually comes with, did I say double take? Double header latches, sorry. It's got the insert, but instead of having to buy it as an accessory, this boat actually comes with it, which is really nice. I'm just going to set this over here for a second. You got plenty of storage up front for rigging, for mounting stuff. What I really like is this lip right here, which allows me to mount battery plates, transfer switches, anything that I want to mount. I've got this little bit of extra lip right here. And then the pedal drive reservoir, or where the pedal drive drops down into, made it to where you had to move forward for the transducer port. So what's really cool about having this spot for the transducer to mount, and these two bosses right here are basically where the inserts are on the inside for you to mount the transducer. It comes ready to mount a transducer right into the hole. You don't have to get fancy with it. But I also like this block right here because you can set a power pack or other stuff right up on top of it, and it's nice and clean. I also like the way that this hatch came out. The way that it's manufactured with the ridges, it actually came out a lot stiffer. And then I made sure that they included an opportunity to put a Yak Attack Mighty Mount XL right here so that you could put your camera mount right there on the front for getting those cool, rear-facing shots. Now, in the design process, you always have to make compromises and sacrifices. And to be honest with you, this is one of the ones that I lost. I wasn't a big fan of the tip protectors, but Bonafide wanted to include these in the boats because they wanted to give it that extra little something. The one thing I will point out is that if you're using anything on your tracks, which if you buy this boat, you probably will, you're not going to be able to use these because again, the angle to get stuff in there is not going to be that great. It actually works better on the right side as you're in the boat, than it does on the left side. But again, I just felt like it should have been an accessory maybe so that you could add it if you wanted it. I personally don't use it, and I just think that it's going to be something that maybe less than 50% of anglers out there get a lot of value out of. But again, I understand that for the anglers that do want it, it's going to provide a value. Now, one thing that I'm kind of proud of in this boat is I really beat up on the folks at Bonafide to come up with an easier way to pull these retention pins, because this is basically the retrofitted propel drive from Native Kayaks. It's made it popular, and the latches that were on there were really hard to get out. In some cases, you had to actually get pliers or something to pull them out of there. So really proud of the way that this came out. The folks at Big Adventures really listened on a lot of the design process here. And so again, just like your standard pedal drive drop in, it drops right through like every Native boat, locks in. Again, these pull tabs are so much nicer, so much easier than the old version. That's what's beautiful about this sport. Things just keep evolving. Locks in nice and clean. One thing that I hear people talking about all the time is, man, it sure is a pain in the butt to line that prop up. And I just don't think that people understand that there's actually a prop alignment device right there where you just turn that until it hits, and then you just basically, well, you got to pull this first. Once you don't pull it all the way out like I just did, then it just comes right out, and you put this little cover on there, and then that allows you to operate the boat in shallow water. So to me, that's a really cool feature. It really is. That prop alignment device saves you sitting there jiggling it. And honestly, if your prop is covered up in vegetation, you can't even see the prop. So that prop alignment mechanism it's probably got a more fancy name, but show you how it works out of the water. Basically what happens is you're sitting there turning your prop, trying to line it up. If you press this down and you just rotate your prop backwards on the left side, how I always do it, it lines it up and it makes it easy to come right out of the boat. Now, a lot of times if the water's not cold or if I'm fishing without my scuppers in, I actually leave this plate at home. And I'll even drop my scupper plug through there, and I just sit, or my scupper pole, stakeout pole, something like that. I just set the prop down just like that. Gives me a little bit more clearance, makes it easier for me to fish in the boat. But if it's cold outside like it is right now, I want that cover on there because I don't want that water coughing up into the center of the boat. Now, one compromise that had to be made in the final design of this boat is the folks at Big Adventures made the seat a little bit lower than I wanted it to be and a little bit lower than I recommended in prototype testing, because they have to make compromises, right? Not every angler wants to sit as high as I want to sit. That center of gravity has to be taken into account, and I get it. A lot of people want that sit and wiggle to feel more comfortable. I would have liked to see the seat height a little bit higher, and I'm personally going to try to do some modifications to get that seat a little bit higher so it's a little bit more comfortable to pedal, because your legs will be going downhill. And again, it also gets you a little bit more drop off when it comes time to stand up and sit down because you're closer to already standing. Now, I've not been a fan of scuppers pretty much my entire career in kayak fishing, because the way I look at it is you're in a water sport. And if you're going to be in a water sport, you're going to get wet. Wear wet shoes if you don't want your feet to get wet. But I can tell you what, in this boat, because of lowering the seat height, they had to compromise and actually lower the deck some. And by lowering the deck, that actually made more water come into the boat than it did when I was doing the prototype testing. So for those of you that seen some of my early videos, when I was in like the phase 3 version of this boat, and I'm even heavier than I am now, and I'm talking about there's no water coming into the cockpit, well, that's not the case with this boat. I'm right around 260 right now. And at 260 pounds, if I take all the scuppers out, I got about an inch of water that comes in and out of the boat. If I really have the boat loaded down, I'll get more water than that. And if I have the boat naked, obviously, I'll get a little bit less water. So this is going to be a boat that I highly recommend, that if you're anything over 240, 250, you're going to want to use the scuppers. The cool thing about that is they actually come with the scupper plugs. These are what I'm talking about here. There's plugs that just actually go right into the hole. And a lot of people don't realize it, but kayaks don't sink if you leave these out. This is to keep the water out of the boat. Water that comes in the boat goes right back out of those scuppers. But those are nice and easy. Got a little push button in the center that locks them in. Now this seat is really comfortable. It's really wide. It's easy to adjust. You just slide it fore and aft. The one thing that I will tell you, and again, something that I really wish that would have been done from the factory, is that there should have been some type of little alignment mechanism that kept the seat from being crooked. And so if you ever have a situation where your boat feels like it's turning unnecessarily, and this isn't just for this boat, this isn't just for the P127, this is for any kayak out there. This is a little pro tip for you. If your seat is to the point where one side is a little more tight than the other, or one side's a little looser, you'll actually sit crooked, and inadvertently by sitting crooked, you'll kick the boat to that side. And especially on boats like Bonafide that have two keels, that have that double catamaran style hull, When you lower that 1 keel in, it puts more drag on that side and makes you want to turn or turn in the opposite direction. So make sure that you get this seat nice and centered, nice and square before you tighten it down, because if it's crooked, it's going to be uncomfortable and your boat's going to want to turn in the opposite direction. So that's one thing. What I may do later on is come up with a way to put a screw insert into the bottom that'll sit in that track, that'll keep it from, that'll make it easier to align. I don't necessarily adjust the seat a lot. I kind of figured out where the sweet spot was. A little trick that I did is I just put this mount in there, got the seat where I wanted it, and then I just took a screwdriver and just scratched that until I made a little index mark on the track, and then I know that my seat's even and I know it's to my desired location. This seat, unlike the Bonafide SS127, isn't adjustable up and down because you're in a pedal drive boat. You don't necessarily want your seat to go up and down in a pedal drive boat. It does go fore and aft to account for your height, and that's the only way you can make a pedal drive work, is really the seat has to be adjustable, not the actual pedals. Lots of companies have tried to make the pedals adjustable. Hobie has a really good mechanism for doing that, but you're only going to get so much adjustment out of the pedals, so you need to get the rest of it out of the seat, and so that's how the folks at Big Adventures, Bonafide, made that happen. Now, this seat material is a little bit different than the seat material that the original SS127 has. So one thing you're going to have to do is break your seat in. When you mash down on this seat, you will hear a little bit of squeaking. That little bit of squeaking is something that's characteristic in the native line of boats. There's a lot of videos out there on how to fix it. The easiest way to do it is just to take your seat cover off, wrap your tube in electrical tape or something like that to get rid of that squeak. A trick that I have found is to just drill a little pilot hole in the side, put a rubberized washer on there, and screw a little screw in. What that does is it keeps the seat from flexing on the frame, because that rubbing is that seat flexing against the frame. That's all that is. It's not the actual center part of the seat, it's where it rubs against the frame. So a little quick set screw, or again, take the seat cover off, throw a little electrical tape on there, you're good to go. Huge cockpit. Now, you'll see that this boat comes with the Omni grips from Yak Attack. The Yak Attack made popular through the Bonafide line. A lot of people don't realize these, but these actually are designed to lock right into the corner of your black pack. I've seen people actually have these hanging and hook it through their black pack and don't realize that these actually line up and lock right into the black pack. So this is something that Bonafide came up with that I'm really not that big a fan of, to be honest with you. I think that this should have maybe been an accessory so that you can keep the price of the boat down, because I don't think if you're operating a pedal drive, you should have your paddle put away. You're still in a paddle craft, okay? And so if you've got your paddle back here, first of all, it takes up the whole track. It does actually give you the functionality to use this as a separate gear track. Now, all is not lost, because even though I don't agree that these go back here, what you can do is take this off, move it to the front, and turn it. And if you put two of them on one side, it's going to operate a lot like the double header from Yak Attack. So again, I'm not a big fan of having these back here, taking up my rear track. I make real good use of my rear track. And I'm not a big fan of having your paddle completely put away, because if you need to make an emergency adjustment, if you need to back up real quick, if you need to get out of the way of a boat, you don't have the time to sit there and fumble fart around trying to grab your paddle, then put it together. I think you should always have your paddle easily in the way to grab it. Now, one thing you have to keep in mind, and this is the reason that most pedal drive people take their paddle apart and put it away, is there hasn't been a real good solution for how to have your paddle outside of the stroke of the pedals, right? So anywhere it's lay, it's in the way. So because of the double header, having it off to the side, it's nice and out of the way. It's easy to use. Again, I'm not saying this is a waste of time or money. I just think it's misapplied for the purpose of taking your paddle apart. I think if you take these and you put two of them in the front on one side, because you've already bought it with the boat, you can save yourself the money of a double header. Or you can put this on one side, and here's what else is pretty cool about this. A fishing rod locks in there just like a paddle does. In fact, a fishing rod locks in here better. So if you take these and you put them up here, one on each side, you actually have two horizontal rod storages. Now, Bonafide is famous for a lot of stern volume, but this boat takes that to the next level. And something that I'm also pretty excited about is the fact that they came with these little inserts that fit the feet of your black pack. If there is a drawback to the black pack sitting in the SS127, is it's down in the bottom of the boat. So if you bring water in through the scuppers, then you're gonna have a lot of water sitting in your black pack. So this is actually a really cool feature, a really cool design to get that black pack up out of the water. That way you don't have the bottom of your stuff that's in your backpack sitting in water. Same rear access hatch that Bonafide's famous for. Not only do you have the power pole mount in the front, but you also come standard with the power pole mount in the back. You've got the standard, Big Adventures rudder system. This rudder system has been devised specifically for this boat. It's nice and clean operation with the handle here, just like that. Your rudder raises and deploys real easy with this little pull cord right here. You take that pull cord, you let it down. Easy one-handed operation to deploy the rudder, to pull the rudder up. One thing that I will caution you against, and this is not just Bonafide, this is every manufacturer out there. You have to be mindful, if you're not normally a pedal drive kayaker, if you back up and you have your rudder down and you back up into the bank or the boat ramp or something like that, you're probably going to damage, if not destroy, your rudder system. They're not designed to stand up to you backing into a boat ramp. They're designed to make the boat turn, okay? So again, just something that you have to keep in mind is these things are not indestructible, and if you back up, especially if you're as big as I am, got a lot of momentum, and you hit a boat ramp, you're probably gonna blow this thing up. Coming on back to the back, you got the same sacrificial keel pieces that you're used to, an oversized fat grip handle so you can actually pick this boat up with two hands if you need to carry it with two people. One last feature that I didn't point out, and I kind of got a love-hate relationship with this feature, is these molded in rod holders. I do find the occasion where I love them. I actually took a Yak Attack panfish camera pole and just shove it down in there, and the foam fits perfectly, so it's great for that. The only thing I don't like about them is that they fill up with water, especially if it's raining or if it has rained, and it's almost impossible to get the water out. Now here's a quick solution for that. Go to Walmart, get yourself one of those practice golf balls, okay? Take one of those tire tools that's got the little needle looking end on it, like you fix a plug, you fix a flat with, stick it through there, put a piece of bungee cord through it and pull it back through. Tie a knot in it, tie it off to your bungee right here and just stick it in that hole. Then all you have to do when you get ready to go fishing is pop that out, that ball of lay inside the boat. You make sure that that's nice and clean, it's out of the way, and you're good to go. But again, I'm learning to love them. When I first saw them make their way into the design, I kind of hated them. But now that I've got that extra spot, and especially when I'm standing up and I can just reach back and grab that rod, this is actually where my grab and go rod goes, my throwback lure. If I'm fishing a topwater frog, fish blows up and I miss it, I want to grab a Senko rod or a worm rod. That's actually where I keep my grab and go rods, and it's also a really cool place, especially like river fishing when I want a little bit lower profile camera pole. So it's a nice place for that. It works great for net handles. So if you're a big fan of the Yak Attack levers landing net like I am, that's a great option for sticking your net right there. It's easy to grab, it's easy to go. PVC fits in there, so if you got some PVC concoction that you've come up with over the years, one quick one that I'll tell you is take a piece of PVC pipe that fits inside there. I think it's 3/4 what fits. Cut a little groove in it where the handle of a spinning reel sits in there. You can slide that down in there and it'll actually make it a rod holder that's a little higher so that your rod handle isn't sitting in water. If you're using super high-end cork like I do on my G Loomis rods, you're not going to want that cork sitting in the water, then dry, then wet, then dry, because it'll deteriorate the cork over time. So make sure that you either keep these clean them out before your fishing trip, or use the little golf ball trick. I'm excited about this boat. I was intimately involved in the design process. There's some things that I love about the boat. There's some things that I wish were different. I understand why they were done the way they were done, because boat designs have to be done for the masses, not just for me. If I owned my own kayak manufacturer, I could do everything my way, I'd probably go broke, because I would make the boat specifically for me and it wouldn't be for everybody. So I think this is a great option for a pedal drive boat. And I'm going to tell you the number one reason why this, in my opinion, is the best pedal drive kayak option out there, at least for me. The reason that I've steered clear of most pedal drives over the years is they don't paddle well. And I like to paddle. I like to get into places where the only way you can go is by paddle. Shallow vegetation, shallow rock, running rivers. So I need a boat that I can paddle. And so far, and again, I'm a little biased. I'm going to go ahead and just say that up front. So you go, whatever you want to say in the comments. But literally, this is the best paddling boat that I've ever pedaled. Okay, and I've pedaled a lot of boats. I've just never really fallen in love with them. And that includes the best pedal drive on the market, which is hands down a Hobie. There's no argument for me. So all you Hobie Mafia, people that always like to show up. I think y'all have like a horn that you blow. Somebody made a comment, and then the Hobie Mafia shows up. So before you even show up, Hobie has the best pedal drive on the market, but their kayaks don't paddle for crap, okay? You might as well try to paddle a piece of plywood or a 50-gallon drum through the water as paddle a Hobie. Okay, that's fine. If you don't like to paddle, that's perfect. That's why we all have choices. That's why capitalism is great. I'm just not that guy. I own a Pro Angler 14. That's why you haven't seen me in it that much. If I'm not pedaling it, it's a bear. It's a bear to transport. It's a bear to get into shallow water. It's a bear to get into the river. It's a bear to drag through the woods. Again, great boat, great platform. Just doesn't fit the vast majority of the way that I'm fishing. All right, last takeaway for this boat. And this could be a selling point for you, or it could be another reason for you to hate me in the comments. Whatever, I'm just going to tell you. This boat motors like a monster. Now, when I say monster, I mean it's the best motoring boat that I've been in yet, and there's three major reasons for that. One is if you use the innovative Sportsman mount from Trey Leach and you get the motor back, that's going to help a lot. You got a lot of volume in the stern because of how big this tank well is and then how much volume there is from here back. That takes a standard kayak hole, which is a displacement hole, and turns it into a little bit more of a planing hole. Now, not quite a planing hole, but when you got this much volume and you get the motor a little bit further off the back, it's the best performing boat I've had yet with my weight, my load, my center of gravity, and how I fish. So I haven't tested it against every boat out there. It's just the fastest boat that I've had with a full fishing load, including me, because I'm the fisherman, so I'm part of the full fishing load, for the 403 and the 1103. Now here's one major reason why. Not only do you have all this volume in the back, but you have the ability to adjust the load, aka the angler, forward. By adjusting the weight of the angler forward, you get to level the boat off. If you guys see guys running a boat like this with the motor on the back, there's so much wetted surface back here, which contributes to coefficient of friction, which is a fancy word for drag. Then that's why the boats go a little bit slower, or that's why they hit a certain point and they can't go any faster. If you watch a bass boat, it goes like that, and then once it breaks over, that's called being on plane. That's why there's a displacement hole and a planing hole. Now this isn't quite a planing hole, but it's a lot closer than any other boat that I've been in. And again, by being able to slide yourself forward to motor from spot to spot, and then when you get to the spot, slide back, use the pedals, or slide back to increase standing room, it is a ultimate like 1-2 punch for the type of fishing that I like to do when I'm covering water. And it's great to leave the motor at home, jump out there and go fishing. I can fish rivers with it, I can fish lakes, I can drag it through the woods, I can put it on top of the truck if I need to. So it's the perfect balance for me, for all the things that I like, the way that I like to fish. Again, I pointed out the things that I didn't like. This isn't some like talking head bias review by a company spokesman. Am I sponsored by Bonafide? Absolutely. I'm not exclusive to Bonafide because I feel like I need to be objective for you guys out there, but this boat is the best that I think it could possibly be to get as much stuff, right, to as many features into one package. So I think the folks at Bonafide knocked this thing out of the park. I think you're gonna love it. Are you gonna love everything about it? No, but nobody's gonna love everything about any boat out there. That's the one thing you have to understand about kayak fishing. There's compromises, there's gives and takes. That's why there's Ram, Ford, Chevy, Honda, and
Toyota.
So we have choices. Yeah, Toyota, there's all that. So again, that's my walkthrough. If you guys have any questions, put them in the comment section below. When Aliex releases this video, I'll be sure to come over and mix it up in the comments with you guys. I'll take abuse, I'll give it back.
How big is it?
So the way that the Bonafide naming convention works is if it's a 127, that means it's 12 foot 7 inches. Doesn't make sense in standard terms, but that's how the kayak industry does it. A 127 is 12 foot 7. 117, like the RS, is 11 foot 7. So basically it's 12 foot long, 12 foot 7 inches long. That's not including the handles. So I think if you measured it from the tip of the handle, if it was extended to the tip of the other handle, it'll be 129
inches.
Hobie
does that. They measure to the handle.
Well, that's because their handles are fixed. These handles can fold up and down. So this boat is pretty much 127 inches from the front to the back.
And what is it, like 34 inches wide?
34.5 inches wide.
Dude, you went for like 3 hours. I fell asleep.
Hey, you told me.
Guys, this is the most detailed walkthrough of this boat there is. Because this is the final one, and you went all out. So if you want to learn more about kayak fishing and kayaks and stuff, go check his channel. I'm gonna link it below. Chad Hoover. That's the name of the channel.
Chad Hoover Fishing.
There you go. And also,
Chad Hoover Fishing.
if you like to fish tournaments and you like motors, your tournament allows motors, does it?
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. See?
We're the original, baby.
Yeah, and that's awesome. Motors for the win, guys. What do you think about motors? You like motors?
Yeah, I'm the guy I was the first one to take the arrows in the back for them. I knew that it was going to be a necessity. I didn't want to be the older guy that couldn't fish anymore, needing a motor when I was young that bashed it. I also knew that disabled veterans really were going to need it. And I hear people all the time say, well, I think it should be allowed for the people that need it. Listen, if there's not a market for it, for the masses, there won't be the product available for the people that need it. Or to be like $7,000, like one of them hover-around chairs for retired people. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I believe in motors because I believe that the people that really need them, really need them.
We should do it here.
Doing what, a weigh
in. We're gonna do a weigh-in.
Of what, of the boats?
Who's lying?
Who's lying?
Who says
You
their
know,
boat
we
weighs?
could do that because I have a huge scale next door.
Wow.
Did you know we have a big square scale that you can put boats on and weigh them.
We're gonna have to make another trip. Hopefully it's
Do you
not
have that
raining.
open right now?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's go weigh this one to see how close I am.
All right, let's go.